Humans are fundamentally emotional beings whose behavior is dictated not by reason, but by a relentless negotiation between pain and pleasure. As social media strategists, understanding this biological dichotomy is essential for content engineering that converts rather than merely attracts. This lesson delineates the neuropsychological infrastructure behind every click, illuminating the mechanisms that drive engagement, sharing, and ultimately, purchase. From a biological perspective, two key brain regions orchestrate this dance. The amygdala is honed to identify and react to pain and threat, ensuring survival by steering us from discomfort, loss, and fear. In contrast, the ventral striatum scans for potential gain, gratification, and status, rewarding us for approaching what is pleasurable. Marketing exploits these mechanisms, framing content that either agitates pain or promises transformation. Pain triggers are anchored in urgency. They revolve around the notion of the bleeding neck problem, those acute gaps between reality and desire that manifest as frustration, anxiety, or disappointment. Here, the goal is to make the cost of inaction palpable. Consider the overwhelmed entrepreneur haunted by operational inefficiencies. Effective messaging does not simply present a solution, but reminds the prospect of the wasted hours, missed opportunities, and impending obsolescence, intensifying the discomfort to prompt action. This technique leverages loss aversion, a cognitive bias whereby people will exert more effort to avoid losing $100 than to gain the same amount. The execution of pain-driven content is an art. It requires agitating the problem without falling into exploitation. The content should echo the prospect's internal conversation. Yesterday, you spent 3 hours waiting for a file to upload. How many more hours will you lose this week? When deployed with precision, pain triggers both capture attention and establish empathy with the user, proving that the strategist understands their struggle. On the other end of the spectrum lie pleasure triggers, which are fundamentally aspirational. These are not mere moments of joy or fun, but invitations to status, ease, and self-actualization. Content harnessing the pleasure principle does not simply depict the product or achievement, but future paces the user into their best self. It is the student not just holding a certificate, but negotiating a higher salary. It is the traveler not just booking a flight, but sipping coffee from a beachside cafe in Bali, laptop open, remote job secured. The visual and narrative cues promise transformation and align the brand with the user's ideal self, cementing long-term loyalty and advocacy. A true strategist deploys both triggers judiciously, avoiding the pitfall of excessively fear-based messaging, which can induce fatigue and skepticism. The optimal content sequence, the strategic sandwich, utilizes pain to seize attention and validate the user's experience, then seamlessly pivots to pleasure to unveil the solution and articulate the vision of a better future. This balancing act is more than rhetorical. It is the blueprint for engineering emotional shifts that drive conversion. In practical terms, identifying emotional triggers enables strategists to replace blind guesswork with deliberate, predictable impact. Viral reach becomes a byproduct of well-calibrated emotional resonance. Posts are no longer haphazard stabs at engagement. They're carefully constructed interventions in the user's psychological journey. Ultimately, mastery of pain and pleasure triggers constitutes the foundation of persuasive content strategy. It is not only a competitive advantage, but a requisite for those aiming to orchestrate emotional shifts that translate into measurable outcomes. This knowledge transforms the strategist from content creator to behavioral engineer, one who understands and harnesses the primal engines behind every consumer click.